Hey everyone, I just wanted to pop in here and talk a little bit about emotional connection. That's something that I get a lot of questions about, and it seems like a prevailing theme in that people who are struggling in their relationships don't really feel like they have a sense of connection to their partner. They feel misunderstood, or they feel like not really seen or heard, or just feeling disconnected and separate from their partners. And that's the number one thing that if people could fix, that's what they would focus on. So I want to talk about emotional connection with a lens on of redefining this idea of neediness, because I think we tend to think in our culture that in order to be independent and strong, we need to be not attached to other people, that somehow attachment needs in adulthood is a sign of weakness. And I think that that is exacerbated by the stigma that we have around codependency. Like somehow if we need somebody or we're too needy, we're not fully grown up yet. Like children are attached and they need security from a primary attachment or a caregiver, but once you become a grown-up, you're supposed to outgrow that and not really need people in the same way anymore. But there's this guy named Dr. John Bowlby, which if you've ever studied any kind of psychology or attachment theory, he's considered the father of attachment theory. He talked about what's called affective dependency, and he found that in order to be healthy, we have to, from infancy all the way through adulthood, be able to know that we can reach out to others for support, that we can rely on others and still need them even in adulthood. Now, hundreds of studies have shown that his prediction about adult attachment needs is true, and it's becoming more and more accepted in the world of relationship research and relationship theory. This sense of connection, the secure connection with our partner, is a predictor for long-term health in the relationship and also health of the person in the relationship. And it's a key for strength. It's a protective factor. It's not a sign of weakness or vulnerability, which we tend to think. So that's one thing, is I want to sort of dispel the myth that if we feel like we really need our partner in order to feel good as we go through our day, and we need to know that everything is okay between us, that we have the confidence to know that if we're in distress, our partner will be there for us. That's actually something that is a sign of strength and health. Now, what does that look like exactly when I talk about emotional connection? A lot of people think about affection or fondness and admiration, or expressions of like compliments, or the reasons why your partner likes you, like verbal expressions of gratitude. Things like that are important too in creating emotional connection. But really what I'm talking about is emotional safety. So you have to be able to answer yes to these questions. Can I count on you? Can I depend on you? Are you there for me? Will you respond to me when I need you? Do I matter to you? Am I valued? Am I accepted? And do you need me? Do you rely on me? Because there has to be some reciprocity as well for there to be safety. So if you cannot answer yes to those questions, then you're probably experiencing emotional disconnection. And that can cause all kinds of problems. That's the root of conflict. That's the root of not being able to solve problems. And that's the root of continuing to have arguments over and over again. Usually our fights are a protest against disconnection. And we just might not realize that because a lot of this is unconscious. So the problem is that even if you can recognize that you want greater emotional connection and you want to create it, we tend to, if we've ever had difficult experiences growing up, if we've ever had insecure attachments in our early lives, then we can sabotage security in our adult relationships without even knowing it. If we get panicked by our own needs, if we feel afraid or vulnerable, we can become either demanding or we can become overly clinging in an effort to get comfort. And this is going to cause problems in our relationship, obviously, and it can play into this whole idea of if you're playing the part of the partner who's too quote-unquote needy, that can be an unconscious form of sabotage. If you're assuming you can't get what you need, you'll almost act in a way that will make sure that you don't get what you need. You're kind of confirming your own limiting beliefs about that. So that can become a horrible spiral. Partners can get distressed and keep playing out the same patterns over and over again. So insight's not enough. We have to be able to actually take action to create a solution. And that comes down to being able to communicate exactly what you need and how much you care. So if you're the partner that feels like you need more, then you have to figure out, like, what exactly do I need and how can I ask for that in a way that's most likely to create that in a way that's assertive, that there's no shame involved in it, but it's also not blaming, and it's also not triggering an old dynamic of like accusing. We also have to be able to, if we're the partner that is holding back a little bit or not opening up, we have to be able to learn new ways to express that we really care about our partner so that they can feel safe and connected to us. So you can start by asking yourself, what am I most afraid of? When you think about the fights that you've had with your partner, the times where you feel really trapped or stuck or despairing, desperate, think about the worst times in your relationship and think about how you felt at that time. What were you most afraid of? And really tune into that. You also want to ask yourself then, what do I need most from my partner? Sometimes we're trying to get something and we don't even realize what that is. So we're not satisfied with the answers that our partner gives us, and they're frustrated because they feel like they've already answered our questions, but there's actually a deeper need underneath that we're still trying to get met, but it's coming through as a subtext and we even don't understand it. So really think about, what do I need most from my partner? It could be as simple as, I want you to hug me when I'm upset. Could you please hug me when you see that I'm upset? That's what will help me. Or I need to know that you accept me even though I'm more emotional than you. Or I feel good when I get eye contact when I'm telling you about my day. Whatever it is, if it's something concrete, please identify that and let your partner know what that is. It's scary because if you think, well, what if I ask and then they don't give it to me? That's the risk you have to be willing to take. And you have to remember that you're actually not unsafe, even if they disappoint you. It just feels that way on a primal level. And sometimes it takes time for these new techniques to start taking effect because our partner's psyche might not fully update to the changes that you're making right away. So be patient with this. Another thing you can do is forgive injuries from the past. And if you have a lot of resentments, or if there's been hurt that keeps coming back, that's stopping emotional connection, you can actually have a conversation that is designed to forgive injuries. And it's basically a formula where if you're the hurt partner, you would speak your pain and you would use I statements. So it wouldn't be about, when you were so horrible to me. That would be a you statement. Instead, you would say, when this happened, I felt this way, really focusing on your experience and speaking your pain to your partner. And then your partner would be acknowledging that pain and just staying present, remaining curious. Whoever the repairing partner is not going to get defensive during this time. They're just going to listen and remain curious and acknowledge and really just receive the experience of the partner who's hurt. So if you're the hurt partner and your repairing partner is listening to you and really acknowledging that, then you have to then commit to getting rid of that never again script, like never again am I going to open up to you, never again am I going to trust you. If you really have been acknowledged and they've received your pain and you've spoken it, then you want to try to let go of that never again script and letting down those walls a little bit. The repairing partner is going to take ownership of the injury and express regret or remorse, not get defensive, but really just own what they can about that. Even if their perception is different, it's okay if your perception is different. You can still always empathize with the hurt partner, and you can still always own part of it. Own what you can for the purposes of this conversation. And then finally, if you're the hurt partner, you need to identify what you need to be able to let it go once and for all. So that doesn't mean it's not going to flare up sometimes, that you might still have memories of the thing that hurt you, but you agree to release it, at least insofar as you're not going to bring it up to hold it against them. You could bring it up and say, oh, I'm feeling that again, but it's not going to be something that you use against them as evidence of why they're a certain kind of person in an argument. You have to release that as ammo. So those are just two examples of things you can do to increase emotional connection. That's sort of my tip for the week. I'm going to try to do videos once a week on a topic that you guys are expressing interest in. But just have a think about what I'm saying. And for this week, if you're feeling disconnected in your relationship, ask yourself, Is there something that you have not made clear? Is there a new way that you can ask for what you need that breaks out of the patterns that you're in? Sometimes just doing something differently and asking for something differently and assuming the best would be enough to break out of an old pattern and create pause and create a sense of, what's happening in the present moment, so that we're not really looking through the lenses of the past going forward. And that's key. Emotional connection has to happen in the present moment. Right now, what is happening, not how do I bring to bear everything that's ever happened on this present moment. I especially recommend focusing on emotional connection if there's something that you're trying to deal with logistically or problems in your relationship that you really need to figure out. Try to do emotional connection first, because it's so much easier to solve problems once you feel like you're on the same team. So that's it for this week. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. And until next time.